The sun had barely risen over the quiet streets of Maplebrook when Jonah Miles stood in front of the cracked bathroom mirror of his small rented apartment, adjusting a tie that wasn't quite new anymore. His reflection stared back at him, tired eyes, a rough jaw he hadn't had time to shave, and the weight of years of struggle behind every breath. It wasn't vanity that made him pause there. It was fear. Fear that tonight, the woman he was supposed to meet might see through everything he was trying to hide. That his best shirt was secondhand, that his cologne was a drugstore sample, that his entire life at this point was hanging by a single thread. He reached into his wallet, thumbed through the few bills he had left, and counted slowly. $15. That was all. $15 until payday, if the construction company even called him back. But when he glanced at the small drawing taped to the mirror, a stick figure of him and his little girl Mia holding hands under a big yellow sun, he smiled faintly. "You promised me you'd go, Daddy," she'd told him last night, her 7-year-old eyes full of innocent belief that everything in the world could still be good. "Maybe she'll like you." And so, Jonah decided to spend his last $15 not on groceries, not on gas, but on a small box of chocolates and a single white rose. A gift for a woman he hadn't met yet. A woman named Claire Bennett. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of good hearts finding each other, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Your support helps stories like this reach more hearts. Jonah met Claire through an old-fashioned dating site, the kind that didn't rely on selfies or filters, just words. Her messages had felt different from the others. She'd written about sunsets and quiet bookstores, about how she missed the days when people looked into each other's eyes instead of their phones. She'd never mentioned what she did for a living, and Jonah hadn't asked, maybe because deep down he was afraid to answer questions about his own life. By afternoon, the city was alive with the hum of traffic and chatter as Jonah walked the few blocks to a little cafe downtown. The place was warm and softly lit, sunlight spilling through tall glass windows, dancing on polished wooden tables. He stood outside for a long time before walking in, clutching the gift bag like a lifeline. Claire was already there. She sat by the window, her posture graceful, her gaze calm yet distant, like someone used to observing before acting. Her dark hair was pulled into a neat twist, and her deep blue dress caught the light in a way that made her look effortlessly elegant. Jonah's heart thumped hard. She was way out of his league. He knew it the moment he saw her. She looked up and smiled, and the world seemed to slow down. "Jonah," she said softly. He nodded, swallowing his nerves, and took the seat across from her. The scent of fresh coffee and vanilla drifted through the air as they exchanged shy smiles. Jonah placed the small gift bag on the table and pushed it toward her, clearing his throat. I got this for you," he said awkwardly. "It's not much, but—" Claire's smile softened as she peeked inside, the single white rose and the small box of chocolates. "It's beautiful," she whispered, her voice almost breaking. "Thank you." They talked for hours. About books, music, their favorite cities. About what made them laugh and what they missed most about childhood. But through it all, Jonah kept steering away from his life, from the truth that he was a single dad struggling to keep his head above water. Every time she asked about his work, he found a gentle way to change the subject. He didn't want pity. He didn't want her to see him as someone broken. What Jonah didn't know, what he couldn't have known, was that Claire Bennett was one of the most influential women in the city. She was the CEO of Bennett and Ross Holdings, a billion-dollar firm that managed real estate and tech investments across 3 countries. But none of that mattered to her that day. What mattered was that Jonah made her laugh, that he listened, really listened, when she spoke, that he never once looked at his phone or checked the time. As the sun dipped below the skyline, Claire noticed how Jonah's eyes flickered toward the counter when the waiter brought the bill. She saw the hesitation, the quiet panic, and without making it awkward, she smiled and said, "Let me get this one. You can take care of dessert next time." And Jonah wanted to protest, but something about the way she said, "next time," made him smile instead. He walked her out afterward, the city glowing gold around them. "I had a great time," Claire said softly. "You're not like most people I meet." Jonah chuckled. "That's probably a good thing. Most people I meet don't have time to sit for 3 hours with someone who still drives a 2004 pickup." She tilted her head, intrigued. "That pickup probably has more stories than half the people I know," she said, and with that, she turned and left, leaving Jonah standing there, his heart both full and uncertain. That night, Jonah tucked Mia into bed, still thinking about Claire. He didn't know if she'd call again or if he'd ever see her, but for the first time in months, he felt a spark of something he thought he'd lost hope. The next few days passed quietly. Work didn't call. Bills still piled up, and just when he began to think the date was a beautiful memory fading too soon, his phone buzzed. From Claire Bennett. "Would you like to grab coffee again this Saturday? My treat. There's something I'd like to show you." Jonah's heart skipped. He didn't know that this second meeting would change everything. When Saturday came, Claire didn't choose the same cafe. Instead, she sent an address. Jonah arrived to find himself standing in front of a tall glass building in the heart of the business district. The kind of place he usually passed by with his head down, feeling invisible. The lobby was sleek, filled with people in suits, polished marble floors gleaming under bright lights. "Jonah Miles," the receptionist asked kindly. "Ms. Bennett is expecting you. Top floor." He stepped into the elevator, clutching his cap nervously, his stomach turning with confusion. When the doors opened, he found Claire standing by a large glass window overlooking the city. She was different today, more composed, her presence commanding, yet her smile, when she turned to him, was still the same. "I wanted you to see where I work," she said quietly, "because I didn't want to hide who I am anymore." Jonah blinked. "You mean this place?" She nodded. "I'm the CEO here. I didn't tell you before because I wanted someone to see me for me. Not the company, not the money, not the headlines, just Claire." Jonah stared at her, words failing. His first instinct was to retreat. He didn't belong here. He felt out of place, standing in his old boots and faded jeans in the middle of a world made of glass and gold. "Claire, I don't know what to say. I'm just a guy trying to make ends meet. You're someone who's been lonely for a very long time," she interrupted softly. "You bought me a rose when you barely had enough for yourself. Do you know how rare that kind of heart is?" Jonah looked away, emotion catching in his throat. "It was just a flower." "No," she said. "It was kindness." The air grew still between them. Outside, the sky had turned soft orange, painting the office in a warm glow. Claire stepped closer and placed a small envelope in his hand. "You told me you're between jobs. I might have something for you. Only if you want it. My company runs a foundation that builds affordable housing. We need someone who understands the value of hard work, someone who cares. I think that's you." Jonah opened the envelope. Inside was a formal job offer, complete with benefits and a salary that made his hands tremble. I can't accept this," he said, overwhelmed. "It feels like charity." Claire shook her head gently. "It's not charity, it's faith. In good people who deserve a chance." Jonah's eyes glistened as he looked at her. This woman who'd seen past his worn clothes and empty wallet to the heart beneath. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then he smiled faintly. "You really think I can do it?" "I know you can." Weeks passed, and Jonah began his new job. Every morning he dropped Mia off at school, his old pickup rumbling with renewed purpose. Claire visited often, sometimes to check on projects, sometimes just to talk. Little by little, they built something fragile and real: friendship, trust, and quiet admiration. One evening, as they stood together on a newly built site watching the sunset over rows of fresh, painted homes, Mia ran up and hugged Claire's leg, her small voice bright. "Are you going to marry my dad?" Jonah flushed instantly. Claire knelt, smiling softly. "Well," she said, glancing at Jonah, "I think your dad and I are still figuring that out." But the way their eyes met, the way both of them smiled through quiet tears, said more than words ever could. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Every click helps spread hope and kindness to more souls who need it. Before you go, tell us in the comments, do you believe love can find us when we least expect it? And as the golden light faded behind the city skyline, Jonah Miles realized that sometimes the smallest act, a single rose, of the 15 gesture, could lead to a lifetime of second chances.